let's complete the Bible. And today is the third day. So today we are going to start from the birth of Joshua. I mean the birth of Jacob. Yeah, Jacob and his brother Esau. So that is in chapter number chapter number 25, verse 19. The birth of Esau and Jacob. So without wasting time, let us just start the live session. So the birth of Esau and Jacob. Just a minute, I'll be back. Yeah. So the birth of Esau and Jacob. This is the story of Abraham's son, Isaac. Isaac was 40 years old when he married Rebekah, the daughter of Bethuel and sister of Laban. Because Rebekah had no children, Isaac prayed to the Lord for her. The Lord answered his prayer and Rebekah became pregnant. She was going to have twins, and before they were born, they struggled against each other in her womb. She said, "Why should something like this happen to me?" So she went to ask the Lord for an answer. The Lord said, "Two nations are within you. You will give birth to two rival peoples. One will be stronger than the other. The older will serve the younger." So this strategy comes here that the older one, that is the Esau, who will be the older one, will serve the younger, that is Jacob. So God says that the older will serve the younger. The time came. Just a minute. Just a minute. The time came for her to give birth, and she had twin sons. The first one was reddish, and his skin was like a hairy robe, and he was named Esau. The second one was born holding on tightly to the heel of Esau, so he was named Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when they were born. So, at the age of 60, Isaac bore twin children, namely Esau and Jacob. Esau is the elder one and Jacob is the younger one, and God says that the older will serve the younger, that is, Esau will serve Jacob. So Esau now sells his rights as the firstborn son. Verse 27, chapter 25. The boys grew up, and Esau became a skilled hunter, a man who loved the outdoor life, but Jacob was a quiet man who stayed at home. Isaac preferred Esau because he enjoyed eating the animals Esau killed, but Rebekah preferred Jacob. Just a minute. Live chat isn't coming, it seems. Live chat, I will see. Yeah. So the boys grew up and Esau became a skillful hunter. So Isaac preferred Esau because he liked to eat the meat that Esau used to hunt, and so that one he enjoyed. But Rebekah was the opposite of Isaac, and she preferred Jacob. So one day while Jacob was cooking some bean soup, Esau came in from hunting. He was hungry and said to Jacob, "I am starving, give me some of the red stuff." That is why he was called Edom. So Jacob answered, "I will give it to you if you give me your rights as the firstborn son." Esau said, "All right, I am about to die. I am about to die. What good will my rights do to me?" Jacob answered, "First make a vow that you will give me your rights." Esau made the vow and gave his rights to Jacob. Then Jacob gave him some bread and some of the soup. He ate and drank and then got up and left. That was all Esau cared about, his rights as the firstborn son. So Esau was not smart enough to hold his firstborn rights, and just for a bean soup he has sold his firstborn rights to his younger brother. So this must be the strategy that God had told before. The older will serve the younger. So this starts that strategy as Esau just sells his elder rights to Jacob. Chapter number 26. Isaac lives at Gerar. There was another famine in the land besides the earlier one during the time of Abraham. Isaac went to Abimelech. Isaac went to Abimelech, king of Phil. Yeah. Do not go to Egypt, stay in this land where I tell you to stay. Live here, and I will be with you and bless you. I am going to give all this territory to you and to your descendants. I will keep the promise I made to your father Abraham. I will give you as many descendants as there are stars in the sky, and I'll give you them all this territory. And I'll give them all this territory. All the nations will ask me to bless them as I have blessed your descendants. I will bless you because Abraham obeyed me and kept all my laws and commands. So Isaac lived at Gerar. So now God orders Isaac not to go to Egypt, but he asks Isaac to live back in Gerar so that he would bless him and multiple his descendants and bring his descendants in multiple, so that others would ask God that God to bless them also as they have blessed Abraham or Isaac. So Isaac lived at Gerar. When the men there asked about his wife, he said that she was his sister. He would not admit that she was his wife because he was afraid the men would kill him to get Rebekah, who was very beautiful. When Isaac had been there for some time, King Abimelech looked down from his window and saw Isaac and Rebekah making love. Abimelech sent for Isaac and said, "So she is your wife. Why did you say she was your sister?" He answered, "I thought I would be killed if I said she was my wife." What have you done to us?" Abimelech said. "One of my men might easily have slept with your wife, and you would have been responsible for our guilt." Abimelech warned all the people, anyone who ill-treats this man or his wife will be put to death. Isaac sowed seeds in that land, and that year he harvested 100 times as much he had sown. So now this is a great blessing because he has sown few seeds, and he reaped about 100 times of what he had sown because the Lord blessed him. He continued to prosper and became a very rich man. Because he had many herds of sheep and cattle and many servants, the Philistines were jealous of him. So they filled all the wells with this, which the servants of his father Abraham had dug while Abraham was alive. Then Abimelech said to Isaac, "Leave our country. You have become more powerful than we are." So Isaac left and set up his camp in the valley of Gerar. So in the beginning we have seen that Abimelech was the one who allowed Abraham to come inside his country, but now we are seeing that the son of Abraham, Isaac, has become more powerful than Abimelech, that Abimelech is forced to send Isaac out of his country, out of Gerar. So then Abimelech said to Isaac, "Leave our country, you have become more powerful than we are." So Isaac left and set his camp in the valley of Gerar, where he stayed for some time. He dug once again the wells which had been dug during the time of Abraham, and which the Philistines had stopped up after Abraham's death. Isaac gave the wells the same names that his father had given them. Isaac's servants dug a well in the valley and found water. The shepherds of Gerar quarreled with Isaac's shepherds and said, "The water belongs to us." So Isaac named the well Quarrel. Isaac's servants dug another well, and there was a quarrel uh, about that one also. So he named it Enmity. He moved away from there and dug another well. There was no dispute about this one, so he named it Freedom. He said, "Now the Lord has given us freedom to live in the land, and we will be prosperous here." Isaac left and went to Beersheba. That night the Lord appeared to him and said, "I am the God of your father Abraham. Do not be afraid. I am with you. I'll bless you and give you many descendants because of my promise to my servant Abraham." So now Isaac built Isaac built an altar and worshipped the Lord. Then he set up his camp there, and his servants dug another well. So first they dig a well, and there is a quarrel between them and the people of Gerar, as they claim that the water over there belongs to them. So he names the well as quarrel. Then the next well also has disputes, so he names it as enmity. And the next well that he digs has no disputes or any problem, so he names it freedom. And he believes that God has given place to that place to live for Isaac. So he continues to live there, and he also digs another well. The agreement between Isaac and Abimelech. Abimelech came from Gerar with Ahuzat, his advisor, and Phicol, the commander of his army, to see Isaac. So Isaac asked, "Why have you come now to see me when you were so unfriendly to me before and made me leave your country?" They answered, "Now we know that the Lord is with you, and we think that there should be a solemn agreement between us. We want you to promise that you will not harm us, just as we did not harm you. We were kind to you and let you live peacefully. Now it is clear that the Lord has blessed you." Isaac prepared a feast for them, and they ate and drank. The early next morning, each man made his promise and sealed it with a vow. Isaac said goodbye to them, and they parted as friends. So now Abimelech, he comes to know that God is with Isaac, and he comes to make a peace talk. Actually, there is no enmity between them, but he comes to say that mm, as we have been kind with you and we have let you live in our place freely, so you must also not attack us, and you must be kind with us. So the talk gets over, and the vow takes place, and Isaac says goodbye to them. On that day, Isaac's servants came and told about the well which they had dug. They said, "We have found water." He named the well Woe. That is how the city of Beersheba got its name. Esau's foreign wives. When Esau was 40 years old, he married two Hittite girls, Judith, the daughter of Beeri, and Basemath, the daughter of Elon. They made life miserable for Isaac and Rebekah. So these foreign wives whom Esau had married at the age of 40, the Hittite girls, had made the lives of Isaac and Rebekah miserable. Chapter number 27. Isaac blesses Jacob. Isaac was now old and had become blind. He sent for his elder son Esau and said to him, "My son." "Yes," he answered. Isaac said, "You see that I am old and may die soon. Take your bow and arrows, go out into the country and kill an animal for me. Cook me some of that tasty food that I like and bring it to me. After I have eaten it, I'll give you my final blessings before I die." While Isaac was taken to Esau, Rebekah was listening. So when Esau went out to hunt, she said to Jacob, "I have just heard your father say to Esau, 'Bring me an animal and cook it for me. After I have eaten it, I will give you my blessings in the presence of the Lord before I die.' Now, my son," Rebekah continued, "listen to me and do what I say. Go to the flock and pick out 2 fat young goats so that I can cook them and make some of that food your father likes so much. You can take it to him to eat, and he will give you his blessing before he dies." But Jacob said to his mother, "You know that Esau is a hairy man, but I have a smooth skin. Perhaps my father will touch me and find out that I am deceiving him. In this way I'll bring a curse on myself instead of a blessing." His mother answered, "Let any curse against you fall on me, my son. Just do as I say, and go and get the goats for me." So now Rebecca is more concerned about Jacob, and she asked Jacob to go and get the blessings of her brother Esau, because Isaac had promised Esau that he's going to give his blessings to him. But now Rebecca asked Jacob to go instead of Esau and get the blessings by giving him the food that she cooks. And then just do as I say and go and get the goats for me. So he went to get them and brought them to her, and she cooked the kind of food that his father liked. Then she took Esau's best clothes, which she kept in the house, and put them on Jacob. She put the skins of the goats on his arms and on the hairless part of his neck. She handed him the tasty food together with the bread he had baked. Then Jacob went to his father and said, Father, yes, he answered, which of my son are you? Jacob answered, I am your elder son Esau. I have done as you told me. Please sit up and eat some of the meat that I have brought you, so that you can give me a blessing. Isaac said, How did you find it so quickly, my son? Jacob answered, The Lord your God helped me to find it. Isaac said to Jacob, Please come closer so that I can touch you. Are you really Esau? Jacob moved closer to his father, who felt him and said, Your voice sounds like Jacob's voice, but your arms feel like Esau's arms. He did not recognize Jacob because his arms were hairy like Esau's. He was about to give him his blessings, but asked again, Are you really Esau? I am, he answered. Isaac said, Bring me some of the meat that I have eaten. After I have eaten it, I will give you my blessings. Jacob brought it to him, and he also brought him some wine to drink. Then his father said to him, Come closer and kiss me, my son. As he came up to kiss him, Isaac smelt his clothes, and so he gave him his blessing. He said, The pleasant smell of my own son is like the smell of a field which the Lord has blessed. May God give you dew from heaven and make your fields fertile. May He give you plenty of corn and wine. May nations be your servant, and may peoples bow before you. May you rule over all your relatives, and may your mother's descendants bow down before you. May those who curse you be cursed, and may those who bless you be blessed. Esau begs for Isaac's blessing. So now Jacob has taken Esau's blessing, and now Esau comes and asks for his blessings. Esau asks for his blessings. Isaac finished giving his blessings, and as soon as Jacob left, his brother Esau came in from hunting. He also cooked some tasty food and took it to his father. He said, Please, father, sit up and eat some of my meat that I have brought you, so that you can give me your blessings. Who are you? Isaac asked. Your elder son, he answered. Isaac began to tremble and shake all over, and he asked, Who was it then who killed an animal and brought it to me? I ate it just before you came. I gave my final blessing, and so it is his forever. When Esau heard this, he cried out loudly and bitterly, and said, Give me your blessings also, father. Isaac answered, Your brother came and deceived me. He has taken away your blessing. Esau said, This is the second time that he has cheated me. No wonder his name is Jacob. He took my rights as the firstborn son, and now he has taken away my blessings. Haven't you saved a blessing for me? So now Esau, in a very poor state, he asks Isaac that is there not even one blessing remaining for me? So now Isaac answers. Isaac answered, I have already made him master over you, and I have made all his relatives his slaves. I have given him corn and wine, and now there is nothing that I can do for you, my son. Esau continued to plead with his father. Have you only one blessing, father? Bless me too. Bless me too, father. He began to cry. Then Isaac said to him, No dew from heaven for you, no fertile fields for you. You will live by your sword, but be a brother's slave. Yet when you rebel, you will break away from his control. Esau hated Jacob because his father had given Jacob the blessings. He thought, The time to mourn my father's death is near, then I will kill Jacob. But Rebekah heard about Esau's plan. She sent Jacob and said, Listen, your brother Esau is planning to get even with you and kill you. Now, my son, do what I say. Go at once to the brother Laban in Haran and stay with him for a while until your brother's anger cools down and he forgets what you have done to him. Then I will send someone to bring you back. Why should I lose both my sons on the same day? Hello, Hariharan. Isaac sends Jacob to Laban. Rebekah says to Isaac, I am sick and tired of Esau's foreign wives. If Jacob also marries one of these Hittite girls, I might as well die. So now Isaac, so for sending Jacob to Laban, Rebecca needs some reason. So she uses this as a reason because already Esau has married some Hittite girls and they are a burden over Isaac and Rebecca. So now Rebecca claims that if even Jacob marries some Hittite girls, then it will be a more burden for them. So she says that alone. Now Isaac takes the decision. Isaac called Jacob, greeted him, and said to him, Don't worry, marry a Canaanite girl. Go instead to Mesopotamia to the home of your grandfather, Bethuel, and marry one of the girls there, one of your Uncle Laban's daughter. May Almighty God bless your marriage and give you many children, so that you will become the father of many nations. May He bless you and your descendants, and He blessed Abraham, as He blessed Abraham, and may you take possessions on this land in which you have lived and which God has given to Abraham. May He bless you and your descendants. Just a minute. Yeah. May He bless you and your descendants as He blessed Abraham, and may you take possessions of this land in which you have lived and which God gave to Abraham. Isaac sent Jacob away to Mesopotamia to Laban, who was the son of Bethuel, and Armian, and the brother of Rebekah, the mother of Jacob and Esau. Esau takes another wife. So, in spite of already he's having two wives, he takes other wives. Esau learned that Isaac has blessed Jacob and sent him away to Mesopotamia to find a wife. He also learned that when Isaac blessed him, he commanded him not to marry a Canaanite woman. He found out that Jacob had obeyed his father and mother and gone to Mesopotamia. Esau then understood that his father Isaac did not approve of Canaanite women, so he went to Ishmael, son of Abraham, and married his daughter uh, Mahalath, who was the sister of Nebaioth. Jacob's dream at Bethel. So now Jacob has left Beersheba and started towards Haran. At sunset, he came to a holy place and camped there. He laid down to sleep, resting his head on a stone. He dreamed that he saw a stairway reaching from earth to heaven, with angels going up and coming down on it. And there was the Lord standing beside him. I am the Lord, the God of Abraham and Isaac, he said. I will give you and to your descendants this land on which you are lying. They will be as numerous as specks of dust on the earth. They will extend their territory in all directions, and through you and your descendants I will bless all the nations. Remember, I will be with you and protect you wherever you go, and I will bring you back to this land. I will not leave you until I have done all that I have promised you. So now Jacob woke up and said, The Lord is here. He is in this place, and I didn't know it. He was afraid and said, What a terrifying place it is. I must be the house of God. It must be the house of God. It must be the gate that opens into the heaven. Chapter number 28, verse 18. So now Jacob got up early next morning, took the stone that was under his head and set it up as a memorial. Then he poured olive oil on it to dedicate it to God. He named the place Bethel. The tower there was once known as Luz. Then Jacob made a vow to the Lord, If you will be with me and protect me on the journey I am making, and give me food and clothing, then I'll return. And if I return safely to my father's home, then you will be my God. This memorial stone which I have set up will be the place where you are worshipped, and I will give you a tenth of everything that you give me. So, chapter number 29, Jacob arrives at Laban's home. Jacob continued on his way and went towards the land of east. Suddenly he came upon a well out in the fields with 3 flocks of sheep lying around it. The flocks were watered from this well, which had large stones over the opening. Whenever all flocks came together there, the shepherd would roll the stone back and water them. Then they would put the stone back in the place. Jacob asked the shepherds, My friends, where are you from? From Haran, they answered. He asked, Do you know Laban, son of Nahor? Yes, we do. they answered. Is he well? He asked. He is well, they answered. Look, here comes his daughter Rachel with his flock. Jacob said, since it is still broad daylight and not a time to bring the flocks in, why don't you water them and take them back to pasture? They answered, they answered, we can't do that until all the flocks are here and the stone has been rolled back. Then we will water the flocks. While Jacob was still talking to them, Rachel arrived with the flock. When Jacob saw Rachel with his uncle Laban's flock, he went to the well, rolled the stone back, and watered the sheep. Then he kissed her and began to cry for joy. He told her, I am your father's relative, the son of Rebekah. She ran to tell her father and she ran to tell her father, and when he heard about the news Jacob, about his nephew Jacob, he ran to meet him, hugged him and kissed him, and brought him into the house. When Jacob told Laban everything that had happened, Laban said, yes, indeed, you are my own flesh and blood. Jacob stayed there a whole month. Jacob serves Laban for Rachel and Leah. Now we are entering into chapter number 29, verse 15. So now before saying this, I'd like to say to you that just don't skip these sessions, because just thinking that it's just this study of the Bible, but I'd like to say that the study of the Bible is very important. So just don't think it's just reading the book of Bible and just skip it off. Watch it until the end, and if you don't have time, you may even watch after the live session is completed. So now Jacob serves Laban for Rachel and Leah. Laban said to Jacob, you shouldn't work for me for nothing just because you are my relative. How much pay do you want? Laban had two daughters. The elder was named Leah and the younger Rachel. Leah had lovely eyes, but Rachel was shapely and beautiful. So Leah had beautiful eyes, and Rachel was shapely and beautiful. Jacob was in love with Rachel, so he said, I will work 7 years for you if you let me marry Rachel. Laban answered, I would rather give her to you than to anyone else. Stay here with me. Jacob worked 7 years so that he could have Rachel, and the time seemed like only a few days to him because he loved her. Then Jacob said to Laban, the time is up, let me marry your daughter. So Laban gave a wedding feast and invited everyone, but that night instead of Rachel, he took Leah to Jacob, and Jacob had intercourse with her. Laban gave his slave girl Zilpah to his daughter Leah as her maid. Not until the next morning did Jacob discover that it was Leah. He went to Laban and said, why did you do this to me? I worked to get Rachel, and you have tricked me. So Laban answered, it is not the custom here to give the younger daughter in marriage before the elder. Yeah, that's obvious that they usually give the older daughter first for the marriage and then the younger daughter. But as Jacob has asked for Rachel, who was the younger daughter, Laban had given him Leah without his knowledge. Without Jacob's knowledge. So until the next morning, Jacob did not discover that it was Leah, and it was in the next morning that he discovers it was Leah. He went to Laban and said, why did you do this to me? I worked to get Rachel, why have you tricked me? So Laban answered, it is not the custom here to give the younger daughter in marriage before the elder. Wait until the week's marriage celebrations are over, and I'll give you Rachel if you work for me another 7 years. Jacob agreed, and when the week of marriage celebrations was over, Laban gave him his daughter Rachel as his wife. Laban gave his slave girl Bilhah to his daughter Rachel as her maid. Jacob had intercourse with Rachel also, and he loved her more than Leah. Then he worked for Laban another 7 years. The children born to Jacob. When the Lord saw that Leah was loved less than Rachel, he made it possible for her to have children, but Rachel remained childless. So now, because Leah is getting less loved by Jacob, and Rachel is being more loved by Jacob, God made possible for Leah to get children, but he made it impossible for Rachel to get children. So this makes it as a balance. So Leah became pregnant and gave birth to a son. She said, "The Lord has seen my trouble, and now my husband will love me." So she named him Reuben. She became pregnant again and gave birth to another son. She said, "The Lord has given me this son also because he has heard that I was not loved." So she named him Simeon. And once again she became pregnant and gave birth to another son. She said, "My husband will be bound more tightly to me because I have bore him three sons," and she named him Levi. Then she became pregnant again and gave birth to another son, and she said, "This time I'll praise the Lord." So she named him Judah. So Judah is the one who will actually save the life of Joseph. Yeah. We will see that in Genesis itself. Genesis will end with the death of Joseph, I think. Yeah, Genesis ends with the death of Joseph. So now Joseph is one of the sons of Jacob. We'll see about that later. So then she stopped having children, but Rachel had not borne Jacob any children, and so she became jealous of her sister and said to Jacob, "Give me children or I will die." Jacob became angry with Rachel and said, "I can't take the place of God. He is the one who keeps you from having children." So now this one, I think it's a smart answer, because if the husband becomes angry with the wife, normally there would be a fight with them, but Jacob tackles the situation so calmly and he says that, "I can't take the place of the God. He is the one who keeps you from having the children." So this answer, for this answer, Rachel can't give any further questions. She said, "Here is my slave girl, Bilhah. Sleep with her so that she can have a child for me. In this way I can become a mother through her." So she gave Bilhah to her husband and he had intercourse with her. Bilhah became pregnant and bore Jacob a son. Rachel said, "God has judged in my favor. He has heard my prayer and has given me a son." So she named him Dan. Bilhah became pregnant again and bore Jacob a second son. Rachel said, "I have fought a hard fight with my sister, but I have won." So she named him Naphtali. These names. When Leah realized that she had stopped having children, she gave her slave Zilpah to Jacob as his wife. Then Zilpah bore Jacob a son. Leah said, "I have been lucky," so she named him Gad. Zilpah bore Jacob another son, and Leah said, "How happy I am. Now women will call me happy," so that she named him Asher. During the wheat harvest, Reuben went into the fields and found mandrakes which he brought to his mother, Leah. Rachel said to Leah, "Please give me some of your son's mandrakes." Leah answered, "Isn't it enough that you have taken away my husband? Now you are even trying to take away my son's mandrakes." Rachel said, "If you will give me your son's mandrakes, you can sleep with Jacob tonight." So this offer and take. So when Jacob came in from the fields in the evening, Leah went out to meet him and said, "You are going to sleep with me tonight because I have paid for you with my son's mandrakes." So she had intercourse with her that night. God answered Leah's prayers and she became pregnant and bore Jacob, fifth son. So she bears Jacob the fifth son. Leah said, "God has given me my reward because I have my slave to my husband, because I gave my slave to my husband." So she named her son Issachar. Leah became pregnant again and she bore Jacob a sixth son. She said, "God has given me a fine gift. Now my husband will accept me because I have bore him six sons." And so she named him Zebulun. Later she bore a daughter whom she named Dinah. So now Jacob has got six sons and one daughter from Leah, and two sons from Bilhah, the servant of Rachel, and I think two sons from Zilpah, the slave of Lee. Yeah. So now the God remembered Rachel. He answered a prayer and made it possible for her to have children. She became pregnant and gave birth to a son. She said, God has taken away my disgrace by giving me a son. May the Lord give me another son. So she named him Joseph. So now this is the time when Rachel gets the son, gets her first son, and she names him Jacob. So she names him Joseph. Yeah, Jacob's bargain with Laban. After the birth of Joseph, Jacob said to Laban, let me go so that I can return home. Give me my wives and children that I have earned by working for you, and I will leave. You know how well I have served you. Laban said to him, let me say this. I have learned by divination that the Lord has blessed me because of you. Name your wages and I will pay them. Jacob answered, you know that I have worked for you and how your flocks have prospered under my care. The little you had before I came had grown enormously, and the Lord has blessed you wherever I went. Now it is time for me to look out for my own interest. What shall I pay you? Laban asked. Jacob answered, I don't want any wages. I'll continue to take care of your flocks if you agree to do this suggestion. So here comes the deal between Laban and Jacob. So Jacob says that I don't want any wages, but I'll continue to take care of your flocks if you agree to one suggestion. So he gives the suggestion. Let me go through all your flocks today and take every black lamb and every spotted or speckled young goat. That is all wages I want. In future, you can easily find out if I have been honest. When you come to check upon my wages, if I have any goat that isn't speckled or spotted or any sheep that isn't black, you will know that it has been stolen. Laban answered, agreed, we will do as you suggest. But that day Laban removed the male goats that had stripes or spots and all the females that were speckled and spotted or which had uh, which had white on them, and he also removed all the black sheep. He put his sons in charge of them, and they went away from Jacob with this flock as far as he could travel in 3 days. Jacob took care of the rest of Laban's flock. Jacob had green branches of poplar, almond, and plane trees and stripped off some of the bark so that the branches had white stripes on them. He placed these branches in front of the flock at their drinking troughs. He put them there because the animals mated when they came to drink. So when the goats bred in front of the branches, they produced young ones that were streaked, speckled, and spotted. Jacob kept the sheep separate from the goats and made them face in the direction of the streaked and black animals of Laban's flock. In this way, he built up his own flock and kept it apart from Laban's. When the healthy animals were mating, Jacob put the branches in front of them at the drinking trough so that they would breed among the branches. But he did not put the branches in front of the weak animals. Soon Laban had all the weak animals and Jacob all these healthy ones. In this way, Jacob became very wealthy. He had many flocks, slaves, camels, and donkeys. So now we are in chapter number 31. And now Jacob flees from Laban. Jacob heard that Laban's sons were saying, Jacob has taken everything that belonged to our father. All his wealth had come from what our father owned. He also saw that Laban was no longer friendly as he had been earlier. Then the Lord said to him, go back to the land of your fathers and to your relatives, and I will be with you. So Jacob sent word to Rachel. So now due to this, the sons of Laban feel that all their father's wealth are being owned by Jacob, and so that they are feeling jealous, and even Laban was not friendly as he was before. So Jacob sent word to Rachel and Leah to meet him in the field where his flocks were. He said to them, I have noticed that your father is not as friendly towards me as he used to be. But but my father's God has been with me. Uh, been with me. Your just a minute. You both know that I have worked for your father with all my strength, yet he has cheated me and changed my wages 10 times. But God did not let him harm me. Whenever Laban said, "The speckled goat shall be your wages," all the flocks produced speckled young. When he said, "The striped goat shall be your wages," all the flocks produced striped young ones. God has God has taken flocks away from your father and given it to me. So now Laban said that God has always been with me, and he always gave speckled ones if they were mine, and if Laban promised that striped ones will be mine, then Lord gave the offsprings to be striped. He says these things to his wife. So during the breeding season, I had a dream, and I saw that the male goats that were mating were striped, spotted, and speckled. The angel of God spoke to me in the dream and said, "Jacob." "Yes, yes," I answered. "Look," he continued, "all the male goats are mating are striped, spotted, and speckled. I am making this happen because I have seen all Laban is doing to you. I am the God who appeared to you at Bethel, where you dedicated a stone as a memorial by pouring olive oil on it, and where you made a vow to me. Now get ready to go back to the land where you were born." So after these many years of work, and after he gets all his wages from Laban, God asks Jacob, yeah, Jacob to move back to his father's land. And now Rachel and Leah answered Jacob, "There is nothing left for us to inherit from our father. He treats us like foreigners. He sold us, and now he has spent all the money he was paid for us." I mean, just a minute. "He treats us like foreigners. He sold us, and now he has spent all the money he was paid for us. All this wealth which God had taken from our father belongs to us and to your children. Do whatever God has told you." Now, even the wives agree with Jacob, and they ask them to do whatever that God tells him. So Jacob got ready to go back to his father in the land of Canaan. He put his children and his wives on the camel and drove all the flocks ahead of him with everything he had acquired in Mesopotamia. Laban had gone to shear his sheep, and during his absence, Rachel stole the household goods that belonged to her father. Jacob deceived Laban by not letting him know that he was leaving. He took everything he owned and left in a hurry. He crossed the river Euphrates and started for the hill country of Gilead. Now Laban pursues Jacob. We are in chapter number 31, verse 22. 3 days later, Laban was told that Jacob had fled. He took his men with him and pursued Jacob for 7 days until he caught him up in the hill country of Gilead. In a dream that night, God came to Laban and said to him, "Be careful not to threaten Jacob in any way." Jacob had set up his camp on a mountain, and Laban has set up his camp with his kinsmen in the hill country of Gilead. Laban said to Jacob, "Why did you deceive me and carry off my daughter like a woman captured in war? Why did you deceive me and slip away without telling me? If you had told me, I would have sent you on your way with rejoicing and singing to the music of tambourines and harps. You did not even let me kiss my grandchildren and my daughters goodbye." That was a foolish thing to do. I have the power to do harm you, but last night the God of your father had warned me not to threaten you in any way. So I know that you left because you were so anxious to get back home, but why did you steal my household gods? Jacob answered, "I have suffered because I thought that you might take your daughters away from me. But if you find that anyone here has your God, he will be put to death. Here with our men as witnesses, look for anything that belongs to you and take what is yours." Jacob did not know that Rachel had stolen Laban's goats. So Jacob, without knowing that Rachel had stolen Laban's gods, he says that anyone who has your things will be killed. And he says that with the witness of others, witness of the men over there. So Laban went and searched Jacob's tent, and then he went to Leah's tent and the tent of the two slave men, but he did not find any gods. Then he went into Rachel's tents. Rachel had taken the household goats and put them in a camel's saddlebag and was sitting on them. Laban searched through the whole tent but did not find them. Rachel said to his father, "Don't be angry with me, sir, but I am not able to stand up in your presence. I am having my monthly period." Laban searched but did not find his household gods. So then Jacob lost his temper. "What crime have I committed?" he asked angrily. "What law have I broken that gives you the right to hunt me down? Now that you have searched through all my belongings, what household article have you found that belongs to you? Put it out here where your men and mine can see it, and let them decide which one of us is right. I have been with you now for 20 years, and your sheep and your goats have not failed to reproduce. And I have not eaten any rams from your flocks. Whenever sheep was killed by wild animals, I always bore the loss myself. I didn't take it to you to show that it was not my fault. You demanded that I made good anything that was stolen during the day or during the night. Many times I suffered from the heat during the day and from the cold at night. I was not able to sleep. It was like that for the whole 20 years I was with you. For 14 years I worked to win your two daughters and 6 years for your flocks. And even then you changed my wages 10 times. If the God of my fathers, the God of Abraham and Isaac had not been with me, you would have already sent me away empty handed. But God has seen my trouble and the work I have done, and the last night he gave his judgment. So now we are coming into chapter 31, verse 43. So Laban answered Jacob, "These girls are my daughters, their children belong to me, and these flocks are mine. In fact, everything you see here belongs to me. But since I can do nothing to keep my daughters and their children, I am ready to make an agreement with you. Let us make a pile of stones to remind us our agreement." So now Laban says that let us make a pile of stones to make a agreement between themselves, and he also says that these daughters are mine and these flocks are mine, but I can do nothing to take them back. So Jacob took a stone and set it up as a memorial. He told his men to gather some rocks and pile them up. Then they ate a meal beside the pile of rocks. Laban named it Jegar Shaduta, while Jacob named it Galiad. Laban said to Jacob, "The pile of rocks will be a reminder for both of us." That is why the place was named Galid. So Laban said to Jacob, "The pile of rocks will be a reminder to both of us." That is why the place was named Galid. Laban also said, "May the Lord keep an eye on us while we are separating from each other." So the place was also named Mizpah. Laban went on, "If you ill-treat my daughters or marry other women, even though I don't know about it, remember the God is watching us. And here are the rocks that I have piled up between us, and here is the memorial stone. Both this pile and this memorial stone are reminders. I will never go beyond the pile to attack you, and you must never come beyond it or beyond this memorial stone to attack me. The God of Abraham and the God of Nahor will judge between us." Then, in the name of the God whom his father Isaac worshipped, Jacob solemnly vowed to keep this promise. He killed an animal which he offered as sacrifice on the mountain, and he invited his men to the meal. After they had eaten, they spent the night on the mountains. Early the next morning, Laban kissed his grandchildren and his daughters goodbye and left to go back home. So now we are coming into chapter number 32, and Jacob prepares to meet Esau. As Jacob went on his way, some angels met him. When he saw them, he said, "This is God's camp." So he called the place Mahanaim. Jacob sent messengers ahead of him to his brother Esau, the country of Edom. He instructed them to say, "I, Jacob, your obedient servant, report to my master Esau that I have been staying with Laban, and I have delayed my return until now. I own cattle, donkeys, sheep, goats, and slaves. I am sending you word, sir, in hope of gaining your favor." When the messengers came back to Jacob, they said, "We went to your brother Esau, and he is already on his way to meet you. He has 400 men with him." Jacob was frightened and worried. He divided into two groups the people who were with him and also his sheep, goats, cattle, and camels. He thought, if Esau comes and attacks the first group, the other may be able to escape. Then Jacob prayed, God of my grandfather Abraham and God of my father Isaac, hear me. You told me, Lord, to go back to my land and to my relatives, and you would make everything go well for me. I am not worth all the kindness and faithfulness that you have shown me, your servant. I crossed the Jordan with nothing but with a walking stick, and now I have come back with these two groups. Save me, pray, I pray from my brother Esau. I am afraid that he is coming to attack us and destroy us all, even women and children. Remember that you promised to make everything go well for me and give me more descendants than anyone could count, as many as the grains of sand along the seashore. So now Jacob reminds about the promises that God had made him, and he says that you had promised me that I'll be safe. I'll be safe throughout my journey, and you must keep me safe from my brother Esau. And these he reminds God about these promises. And then after spending the night there, Jacob chose. So now we are in chapter 32, verse 13. After spending the night there, Jacob chose from his livestock as a present for his brother Esau 200 female goats and 20 males, 200 female sheep and 20 males, 30 milk camels with their young, 40 cows and 10 bulls, 20 female donkeys and 10 males. He divided them into herds and put one of his servants in charge of each herd. He said to them, Go ahead of me and leave a space between each herd and the one behind it. He ordered the first servant, When my brother Esau meets you and asks, Who is your master? Where are you going? Who owns these animals in front of you? You must answer, They belong to your servant Jacob. He sends them as a present to his master Esau. Jacob himself is just behind us. So he gave the same order to the second, third, and all the other who were in charge of the herds. This is what you must say when you meet. This is what you must say to Esau when you meet him. So Jacob now instructs his servants what he must say to Esau, so that he doesn't get angry about the things that he had done already, as he had deceived Esau twice, because Esau said that this is the second time he has cheated me. The same way Esau must have the vengeance over Jacob. But Jacob was thinking, just a minute, you must say, yes, your servant Jacob is just behind us. Jacob was thinking, I'll win him over with the gifts, and when I meet him, perhaps he'll forgive me. He sent the gifts on ahead of him and spent that night in camp. Jacob wrestles at Peniel. The same night, Jacob got up, took his 2 wives, his concubines, and his 11 children, and crossed the river Jabbok. After he had sent them across, he also sent across all he owned, but he stayed behind alone. Then a man came and wrestled with him until just before daybreak. When the man saw that he was not winning the struggle, he struck Jacob on the hips, and it was thrown out of joint. The man said, Let me go, daylight is coming. I won't unless you bless me. Jacob answered, What is your name? Jacob answered. So what is your name? The man asked. Jacob, he answered. The man said, Your name will no longer be Jacob. You have struggled with God and with men, and you have won. So your name will be Israel. Jacob said, Now tell me your name. But he answered, Why do you want to know my name? Then he blessed Jacob. Jacob said, I have seen God face to face, and I am still alive. So he named the place Peniel. The sun rose as Jacob was leaving Peniel, and he was limping because of his hip. Even today, the descendants of Israel do not eat the muscle which is on the hip joint, because it was this muscle that Jacob was struck. So now chapter number 33. Jacob saw Esau coming with his 400 men, so he divided the children among Leah, Rachel, and the 2 concubines. He put the concubines and their children first, and the Leah and her children. He put the concubines and their children first, then Leah and her children, and finally Rachel and Joseph at the rear. Jacob went ahead of them and bowed down to the ground 7 times as he approached his brother. But Esau ran to meet him, threw his arms around him, and kissed him. They were both crying. When Esau looked round and saw the woman and the children, he asked, "Who are these people with you?" "These, sir, are the children whom God has been good enough to give to me," Jacob answered. Then the concubines came up with their children and bowed down. Then Leah and the children came, and last of all, Joseph and Rachel came and bowed down. Esau asked, "What about that other group I met? What did that mean?" Jacob answered, "It was to gain your favor." But Esau said, "I have enough, my brother. Keep what you have." Jacob said, "No, please. If I have gained your favor, accept my gift. To see your face is for me like seeing the face of God. Now that you have been so friendly to me, please accept this gift which I have brought to you. God has been kind to me and given me everything I need." Jacob kept urging him until he accepted. Esau said, "Let's prepare to leave. I'll go ahead of you." So Jacob answered, "You know that the children are weak, and I must think of the sheep and the livestock with their young. With their young. If they are driven hard for even one day, the whole herd will die. Please go on ahead of me, and I'll follow slowly, going as fast as I can with the livestock and the children until I catch up with you in Edom." Esau said, "Then let me leave some of my men with you." But Jacob answered, "There is no need for that, for I want to gain your favor, for I only want to gain your favor." So that day Esau started on his way back to Edom, but Jacob went to Succoth, where he built a house for himself and shelters for his livestock. That is why the place was named Succoth. So on his return from Mesopotamia, Jacob arrived safely at the city of Shechem, in the land of Canaan, and set up his camp in the field near the city. He brought that part of the field from the descendants of Hamor, father of Shechem, for 100 pieces of silver. He put up an altar and named it after El, the god of Israel. Chapter number 34, the rape of Dinah. One day Dinah, the daughter of Jacob and Leah, went to visit some of the Canaanite women. When Shechem, son of Hamor the Hivite, who was the chief of that region, saw her, he took her and raped her. But he found the girl so attractive that he fell in love with her and tried to win her affection. He said to his father, "I want to get the girl for me as my wife." Jacob learned that his daughter had been disgraced, but because his sons were out in his fields with his livestock, he did nothing until they came back. Shechem's father Hamor went out to talk with Jacob, just as Jacob's sons were coming in from the fields. When they heard about it, they were shocked and furious that Shechem had done such a thing and insulted the people of Israel by raping Jacob's daughter. Hamor said to him, "My son Shechem has fallen in love with your daughter. Please let him marry her. Let us make an agreement that there will be intermarriage between our people and yours. Then you may stay here in our country with us, and you may live anywhere you wish, trade freely, and own property." Then Shechem said to Dinah's father and brothers, "Do me this favor, and I'll give you whatever you want. Tell me what presents you want, and set the payment for the bride as high as you wish. I'll give you whatever you ask, if you only let me marry her." Because Shechem had disgraced their sister, Jacob's son answered Shechem and his father Hamor in a deceitful way. They said to him, "We cannot let our sister marry a man who has not been circumcised. That would be a disgrace for us. We can agree only on one condition, that you become like us by circumcising all your males. Then we will agree to intermarry. We'll agree to intermarriage. We will settle among you and become one people with you. But if you will not accept our terms and be circumcised, we will take her and leave." These terms seemed fair to Hamor and his son Shechem, and the young man lost no time in doing what was suggested. Because he was in love with Jacob's daughter, he was the most important member of his family. Hamor and his son Shechem went to the meeting place at the city gate and spoke to their fellow townsmen. "These men are friendly, let them live in the land with us and travel freely, and the land is large enough for them also. Let us marry their daughters and give them ours in marriage. But these men will agree to live among us and be the one people with us only on one condition. only on condition that we circumcise all our males, and they are circumcised. As they are circumcised, sorry, won't all their livestock and everything else won't be ours. So let us agree that they can live among us. So all the citizens of the city agreed with Hamor, and Shesem proposed, and all the males were circumcised. 3 days later, when the men were still sore from the circumcision, two of Jacob's sons, Simeon and Levi, the brothers of Dinah, took their swords, went into the city without arousing suspicion, and killed all the men, including Hamor and his son Sheshem. Then they took Dinah from Sheshem's house and left. After the slaughter of Jacob's other sons looted the town to take revenge for their sister's disgrace. They took the flocks, the cattle, the donkeys, and everything else in the city and in the fields. They took everything of value, captured all women and children, and carried off everything in their houses. Jacob said to Simeon and Levi, "You have brought trouble on me. Now Canaanites and the Perizzites and everybody else in the land will hate me. I haven't many men. If you, if they all band together against me and attack me, our whole family will be destroyed." But they answered, "We cannot let our sister be treated like a common war." So this is the end of the 34th chapter. So we will continue from the 35th chapter from the next live session. And if you have no time for watching these live sessions, I would ask you to watch these after the session is over in about 2x speed or 1.5x speed. If you watch it in 2x speed, then it will be just a half an hour session, so it will be easy for you without wasting your time, and in half an hour you would be able to complete about 15 chapters. So if you have a craze for Bible or completing Bible, you can mingle with us in this session, and you can complete the Bible as soon as possible. And the live session will take place every Wednesday, Saturdays and Sundays. So if you do not have time, as I said before, you can watch it in 2x speed after the live session has been completed. So let us continue the next live session after that in the next Wednesday. In the coming Wednesday, it will be either in the 6 to 7 p.m. or 7 to 8 p.m. So I'll meet you again in at Wednesday. Until then, bye.